a Fairfield Barbershop overdrive. So that's what the tone, or sorry, there is no tone. Well, there is a tone. It's a switch. The tone is off, tone cut. It's a high cut, low pass filter. That's off. Volume's around noon. I keep volume when I play just a little bit above what my clean sound is. Actually a little higher than I would probably maybe normally play with it. The drive is about 10.5, 11. The sag is a little below noon. A sag is like a weird tone shaping of the distortion of the drive, and the drive is obviously how much is overdriving. I'm going to play around a little bit. I'm going to turn drive and sag down all the way and kind of see how it sounds. Okay, so you can hear that like drives down all the way. Volume is really low. I think sag. So typically when I hear sag, I think of volume sag or like not volume sag, voltage sag. And so I think people talk about this. I think I've heard them say like they like fuzz pedals when they have a kind of a dead battery because there's sag in it. And the way I audibly hear sag that I've heard other people play is that when you hit the guitar, it doesn't come in right away, or it kind of ramps up to the max volume slower than if you have less sag. So I'm going to turn the volume up to try to get it unity, because by turning the drive down, I lost a lot of volume. And then, I don't know, apparently sag turns the volume down too, which all that kind of makes sense, because if you had my logic, if you had a dead battery, you have less power. You're going to have less volume because you need some volume, some voltage to do the amplification, current, I guess. And please don't correct me in your head, and don't judge me. But anyway, so I'm going to turn the volume up. So just without that, it sounds really cool. So there's not a lot of sustain. It's all the attack. Again, sags all the way down, drives all the way down, volume is cranked up. And I think, well, I'm going to turn the sag slowly up and see how it affects things. So as I turn the sag up, it's at 9 o'clock right now. I had to turn the volume down because very quickly it started to boost the volume. I really like that. Let's turn the sag up to noon. I'm going to have to turn the volume probably down to noon. It's funny to me because it's not what I expected. I expected there to be a little more hair on it. So I'm turning the pedal on and off, kind of just seeing if I can hear a difference. So the sag's at noon. And again, drives all the way off. There is a very, very subtle breakup on that. Like only with only with chords. Barely hear it with the signal notes. Okay, let's turn the sag all the way up. And I think the sag really, what would this be? This would be like logarithmic knob. So kind of think of it like as I turn the knob, a lot of at least with the drive down, all the sag changed mostly like from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And then once I got up there, it seems like I'll kind of go back to 9 o'clock and play just some open strings to show you. If there is overdrive with so again, sags all the way up, drives all the way down, volume is to try to be unity to hear the difference. If there is a difference, I don't think I can hear it. It is clearly it could boost the sound a little bit. It's maybe a tad fuller in the EQ. I'd say maybe the high end's a little more sparkly. barely anything with that sag all the way up. So the way I would describe this is kind of the way I would hear it or think about it is that sag, as I turn it down, is turning down how much, I want to say voltage is going to the circuit to amplify the signal to do the overdrive. While we're here and it's clean, I'm gonna mess with the tone switch just so you can get a feel of. I say you, but it's for me. This is so I can understand how this tone switch really sounds. Pedal on. Just cutting the highs a bit, and I know from experience using this pedal that when we really turn up the drive, we're going to hear the tone. It affects it more. I guess there's more high end, and it cuts a lot more of that sparkle out. So that's what the tone. I've got my tone knob turned down a bit, so I'm going to crank it up and see. Here's my clean sound. All the way, tones all the way up. So it's cutting quite a bit out in that one setting. I'm going to turn it back off, I think, for now. If I use the tone knob personally, I normally leave it off or just barely on. So I turned the drive up to 9 o'clock. I'm going to turn my tones back down. And I'm going to keep turning this on and off because I think with overdrive, it's in some ways a very subtle sound. So it helps me to I like to understand what the actual tone the pedal is bringing to my sound. I turn it on and off at unity to get a sense of that. So that was all with it off. Sorry. When I find something I like. Okay, so I don't know. There's a little bit, it's adding a little bit to the sound. I think it sounds good. I'm going to crank the drive up to probably noon. there again, I've left the sag up. I'm between 9, I'm right in the middle, 10.5. Ugh. Got more drive. I don't think it adds much sustain. It's just giving me a little breakup on the attack. Single notes on and off. Maybe a little more high end. You can tell then, I just turned the tone on to the middle section, so it's just slightly engaged. You can tell it takes a lot of the high end away. And you can compensate by turning it up, and it kind of, I guess the point would be, if you want to retain the high end, but you want a little more body, mids and lows, you could turn the tone up, turn the low pass filter tone switch to the middle setting, and then crank the volume a little. It's pretty hearty. It's like a beef stew or some kind of vegetable stew, maybe. Now, if I turn that tone off, it's a little shrill to me. But it cuts more. Anyway, let's turn this drive up some more. The volume is, the drive and the volume are both at 10.5. I'm going to turn the drive slowly up to noon. I'm going to turn the volume down. So this is the interesting thing about this pedal. You can hear now that it's adding a lot of sparkle and high end to my sound, I think. So here's clean. Then I'm going to turn it on, and hopefully you can hear the difference. And that's not how I normally have this set up, but it's interesting. And then if I was using it like this, I would probably then switch the tone, turn the tone down a bit. think it's adding too much, maybe a little sustain to the single notes. And I like, I got the tone in the middle, well, not in the middle, on the middle setting, so it's just a little bit of high cut. And I think it adds some beef to that. Okay, the drive is at like 2.5. If I didn't have the sag control, which we'll see what it does, but that's too harsh for me. I like that. So that's sag all the way up. Drive is at like 2.5. I think it sounds pretty cool there. With the tone cutting the most highs, it's a little bit too much. Too much cutting of the highs. Interesting. I have never played with this pedal at that setting. Let's keep going higher with this drive. I don't like this with the tone the high cut off. So it's too fizzy. I don't like drives or overdrives this time. It sounds very, very artificial. So I turn the tone, I'm cutting the most highs this pedal allows me to. It's a little too bassy. I don't know. I could mess around. I think with this pedal, I just like the different sounds forever. So apologize for all this crappy noodling. Now the drive's all the way up, sag's all the way up, volume's at like 9 o'clock to try to keep to unity. High cut is in the middle setting to the right. So like an overdrive, in my mind, it doesn't have the sustain of like a Rat distortion pedal / fuzz or whatever. And the thing I love about this pedal, all the hair on the overdrive, even with single notes, always, it sounds very random, and I love that randomness in the overdrive. I want my sound to almost be like modulation delay going into it, but I don't want it to delay. But I want it to sound like there's just like kind of out of tune, almost like when you're hitting two. There's the interaction of those waveforms going in gives overdrives really cool character to me. There's with no high cut. To me, it's too much. It's just too harsh. I would never use it in this way because I don't think this is the best setting, but it does get pretty overdriven. You can hear it. Okay, I turned the sag down. It's at 3 o'clock, and you can see just from like about 5 o'clock max to 3, huge difference. To me, it's dropping a lot of low end. So really quickly, it kind of... I'm going to turn the tone high cut off. Maybe a little too harsh for me still. the sag at noon. The drive's still max. I adjusted the volume and there's no EQ change. Again, maybe a little harsh for me still. I'm going to try the tone settings real quick. There's the tone is as much high cut as possible. I thought I would never say I wanted the tone cutting as much highs as possible, but this sounds pretty good. There's the tone in the middle setting, not in the middle setting. So, there's a little bit of high cut. I think that's what that sag setting is doing is, I guess when I think of, again, sag and voltage starvation, it kind of cuts the lows, and that's what that sag control is doing. Sag's at 9 o'clock. Drive is still all the way up. Tones in the little bit of high cut setting. Turn the sag down, it seems to get a little harsher to me. I'm going to turn the tone off and then, or all the way on, cut the most highs, then cut no highs. Little harsh still. Let's turn the sag all the way. That's what sag is at 9 o'clock. Let's just turn it all the way off. I lied. It's at like 8 o'clock right now. tone knob doesn't do, or tone switch doesn't seem to do as much, but I can tell you probably can't hear it without hearing my guitar strumming. It's like the loudest volume in the pedal is a little behind where I'm hitting, and it's almost like the pedal's reacting a little late to my hits on the strings. Tone is cutting the most highs possible. So with the sag, again at 8 o'clock, drives all the way up, volumes at noon. This is cutting the most highs. And that's pretty cool. It's really interesting with that sag. I'm going to turn it all the way down to like 7 o'clock. So sag's all the way down, drives all the way up. Volumes at around noon to get unity. Tone is cutting the most highs possible. Really beefy sound. I'm going to turn it off real quick just to see. Turned it off for a bit, and now it's cutting just a little bit of the highs. So with that sag control all the way down, to me, it does sound like, to my recollection, a dead battery sound. And I think it's starving the circuit, and you can, to me, sag is doing two things when I strum. It's slowing how fast the sound attacks. It's like smoothing that attack. But it's also causing the drive to the sound to die off sooner. You gotta hear it, like it's compressing, and then it drops down, which is cool. It means you don't get as much sustain. So there, when you hear my sound clean, just slowly fades out, and this has like a step down. It feels like it's stepping down at certain frequencies or something, or a certain volume. Anyway, it's cool. Okay, so how do we say this? So between the sag and the drive, maybe think of it this way. This is how I think of it. So as you add drive, you're going to get more high overtones. So you're going to get more high end, more treble. as you turn sag up, you're going to get more low end. That's how I'm going to think about it. So the tone control is valuable where you can like use these different controls to get interaction between what you ultimately want to hear. And so I don't know, like yeah, that's how I think about it. Turn drive up, more treble. Turn sag up, more bass. And there's interactions between those. So I'm going to turn drive and sag to noon and see what we get there. I'm going to turn the tone control off, so all treble. That sounds a pretty good sound. Okay, so for me personally, I want a little more randomness, and I think you can get a little more randomness by turning the sag down. And I think, again, that's starving the voltage to the overdrive circuit, or that's how I think of it. When you do that, to me, you get a little more randomness, maybe different overtones that makes it sound like randomness. Either way. But I know as I turn the sag down, it's going to sound, well, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to adjust it to where I want. So as I turn the sag down, it's not going to sound cleaner. It's going to have less sustain. And then I counteract that sustain by turning the drive up. Okay, this is pretty close to what I would probably do with this pedal. It is, drive is around 2.5, sags at around 11, 10.5, somewhere in there, and I've got the tone cutting a bit of the highs. And then I would probably, if I want a little less drive, I'd turn my volume down on the guitar. little bit of volume difference. So if I turn the volume on the guitar down, it's pretty close to my clean sound with the volume all the way up. I turn it up and turn the volume up and I get a little more extra. Another setting I might do is more sag, less drive, maybe? The tone cutting nothing, and then I turned it so it's cutting a little of the highs. So I lied. This is drive at 2, sags at 2.5. Yeah, so turning that sag up, I guess, makes it a little less. It makes it a more clean distortion, and what I mean by that is, as you hit something, you get overtones from the strum. And then it's probably, depending on what I'm playing, I like that sound. I might put sag a little down a little, do it with my foot. playing something a little heavier, that might be the setting I use. Now, other times I'm playing, I want a subtle overdrive, just barely breaking up with a little boost. And I think where I would want that, turn the drive down, leave the sag. Sag's at about 1 o'clock. Drive's at about 1 right now. But I'm going to turn the drive down to like 10.5. Okay, that is where I use it. Little more boost. Okay. Drives it around 11, little under. Sags at 1. Volume's at about 11. And the tone is in the cutting a little bit setting. That is where I leave it when I'm playing softer stuff, and I want a little bit of grit, a little bit of hair on my guitar. I really like that sound, so much so that sometimes I'll turn the volume up a little bit more, use my guitar volume to bring it down, because even at the lower volumes, it just gives it a little, maybe a little more low end, little extra body. That's how I would, a little more support to the sound. It doesn't sound as thin. And yeah, I like it here. And then, like I said, if I want a little more, if I'm doing something that's more heavier, I don't want to say heavy rock, I turn the drive up. And the nice thing about that sag, why I love this pedal, is because that sag allows me to get some randomness in the hair, the grit of the overdrive. And I don't know, to me, it doesn't accentuate any particular part of the sound. And if you turn that high cut off, so you turn the tone switch to the off position, turn the volume down a little. Just clean. Let me turn it on and off. It gives a little more compression in my ears to the, which some of you some people, if they listen to this, will say, But it gives it a little hair on the single notes, gives it a little boost. I can control a lot of that with my picking. And then it gives us just a little bit of hair on the on those chords. I love a good clean chord. I like having a little hair on it. All right. I feel like for one pedal, I've been sitting here talking to myself for way too long, but I really like this pedal. I like that you can basically you can use that sag control to control the randomness on the overdrive. And you've got a tone control, and some people are going to say there's not enough control on the tone because it's a switch. Give me more switches. Give me more switches, less knobs, except volume. Give me more. I don't want to have to. I like different tones. I like that they can interact differently. I agree that sag and drive on this pedal probably should be knobs, but in general, there's certain things I don't want to have to think about. And if you can get away with the switch, even if it's like an 8-way switch rather than little tiny increments, I don't know why I like that better. And the tone, I never thought I would use a tone control on this pedal. I use it all the time. You just get into certain settings, you're like, I could use a little less high end. And when you cut the high end, you can turn the volume up and compensate. So, more or less, that is the Fairfield Barbershop Overdrive.